Since Kyle is our pop punk expert, I'm gonna let him go first. This was just going to this album, buddy. What do you got for Sum 41's final album, Heaven and Hell?
Yeah, so I mean, when I found out that Sum 41 was breaking up, I was pretty upset about it. I'm glad to be seeing them on the last tour. Was glad that they were putting out one final album, and I was hoping that they were going to put out, we're going to go out on a high note. We're going to put out the best album we possibly could. And I'll get into it more, but I don't think that's the case here. What we got here is kind of a mixed bag. The whole idea was a double album to show like the pop punk side of the band for the first album, and then the more heavy, almost like borderline metal parts of the band on the second half. I kind of found myself wishing that they released this as two separate albums, like maybe spread across like 2, 3 months apart, because it feels disjointed throughout. I mean, like there are times the first part ends, which, when you have like the CD version, it's two different discs, or like the vinyl, it makes a little more sense. But when you're listening on like streaming or listening to it all the way through as kind of like one body of work, it's a little bit disjointed in that way. But really, what I found myself thinking, and I'm going to get into it song by song, was if this is the way that they were going, I'm kind of happy that they're calling it a day. And that's not to say this is a bad album because I don't think it is. So I'm going to sound harsher talking about these songs than what my final score is going to be. But I found that there was a bit of uh, not kind of a lack of creativity throughout this entire record. Um, Honestly, this is probably my least favorite in terms of lyrics. It's probably about mid for their albums in general, I would say, but lyrically, I think this is the weakest album as a whole. So I'll get that critique out of the way so I don't have to keep harping on it. Um, so I mean, we'll start with the pop punk side. I mean, Waiting on a Twist of Fate, it's one of the top three. Top three for me on this record. It's a straight 10 out of 10. This is what I was hoping for from this album. This is a song that it's a good blend of their pop punk stuff, but also has a bit of that little metal element to it. It has a great guitar solo. The verses are different. It's not just verse one, verse two. It actually has distinct parts to it. It has a bridge, solo, fantastic song. What a way to kick off the album. Then we go into Landmines, which chorus is huge. Arguably the best chorus of the record, catchiest one. But where it falls apart for me is the post chorus. I've always thought like using woes and ohs are it comes off a bit like they didn't know where to bring it, how to transition back into a verse from there. Kind of brought that down to me to like a 9. I love the rest of it. I gotta point out the drum fills in this song though. They are the best drum fills on the album. Totally kick ass. And then we get to I Can't Wait, which actually grew on me a lot to being one of my top three. Another 10 out of 10 here. It's an extremely fun song, very reminiscent of like All Killer No Filler or like Does This Look Infected days. And those are, I'm a big fan of pop punk Sum 41. So that really hit the nail on the head for me there. And here's where we start to go downhill. Time Won't Wait. This is my first inkling that things were kind of not right. This song, Mike, I don't know if you know the song, but JT will know what I'm talking about. This song is a copy and paste of the song Bloody Valentine by Machine Gun Kelly.
I
The
was thinking the
verses
same thing.
are identical nearly. The lyrics are so like cliche and contrived on this one. The chorus also reminds me of Get Up by Shinedown. And here's where like the lack of creativity started to kind of like hit me that, huh, this is starting to sound like other artists. Also, at this point in the album, I'm realizing that this band just really loves waiting, apparently. I mean, three of the first four songs have wait in the title or wait. They have one of
Uh,
their biggest songs is still waiting. And then lyric,
uh,
we'll get to it later in the album, but he literally uses time won't wait in another lyric down the line. So, I mean, this one was like a 7. It was
don't forget,
very
maybe we're all to blame.
Yeah.
well,
Yes, that gets used
Yeah.
throughout too. I'll get to it, Mike. Don't you worry. Then we get to another lyrically cliched song in Future Primitive, which this is a more like fast punk version of that though. I mean, the lyrics in this one talking about social diseases and letting go, and I'm like, dude, you use these lyrics all the time at this point. Uh, and the chorus melody feels like the millionth time that he's used the same melody. Overall, I had to knock it for that. Here's where he talks about we're all to blame again. So that one has a cool solo in it though. It's like a six. It's fine. Dopamine, the verses on this one are very similar to Time Won't Wait, which in turn makes it similar to something from Machine Gun Kelly's Tickets to My Downfall album. Like if you told me that he wrote these two songs initially with the intention of giving them to Machine Gun Kelly, I wouldn't be surprised. And then like decided to hold him for himself. But it's about a seven again for me. It's about the same as Time Won't Wait. And then we get to my two least favorites on the album. Not Quite Myself has it's a five. It's a whatever of a song. It's not bad. It's just kind of there. The chorus is super weak. It doesn't transition well from the verses. Like the verses and the pre-chorus on this are fine. And then it has like a weird transition to the chorus, which is like weirdly sung. It doesn't feel like Sum 41 on this track. It just sounds like insert generic pop punk band here. And then you go to Bad Mistake, which this is just You're Gonna Go Far Kid by The Offspring. It's copy and paste for almost the entirety of the song to the point where everyone I showed this song to had the exact same thought instantaneously, even people that are not Offspring fans. Uh, the song itself is fine, but I can't overlook that it's literally just another band's song almost with different lyrics. I think it's to Johnny Libertine, which sounds like it's right off Underclass Hero, my personal favorite Sum 41 album. I love this song. I wish it was a little bit longer. It's super catchy. I know Mike's probably is my least favorite, uh, but it's like a nine. It also, though, just gives me the vibes of Saint Jimmy by Green Day. Same kind of feel to the song. So here we are again, still only in the first half of this album, where I'm like, this all feels like other bands' ideas and music or reusing of their own stuff. And then you go into Radio Silence, which sounds strikingly like Catching Fire, the closing track from their last album.
Also, Walking Disaster from Underclass
Well,
Hero
that
too.
too. Yeah, I can see that
The
one too.
intro melody.
But this, it's a nine. I really like the song. I do have to dock that point though because of sounding like other songs. But had those songs not existed, this would be a really good song. Uh, it's a token emotional song to end the first part of the album. It's a good way to end a pop punk side of the record. And then you go into I'm not even going to attempt to say this. I'm not Italian or Latin, whatever we're going into here, but
Oh my god.
we
Uh,
I can't rate this. It's just an intro to Rise Up. It's fine for what it is. Um, but this goes into another issue I have in that I feel like the metal side of it seems to be the fan favorite. To me, though, I feel like this is where a lot of the ideas didn't hit that well. I mean, you have aside here 10 tracks, one being an intro, the other being a cover. But I mean, we got Rise Up. So it's an eight. It's a good song, but I really hate the line, like the sun, it's time that I rise up. Oh, awful. Good chorus, though. It's fine. Uh, then Stranger in These Times. Here we go. 10 out of 10. Love this song. This song is a straight banger of a track. The intro riff has a great bounce to it. It's fast and in your face the whole way through, doesn't hold back. Really like this one. And then we start to go down again. I Don't Need Anyone. Not the biggest fan of the chorus on this, especially the transition into the chorus, but has a really good guitar solo on it. Over the Edge, intro riff here is nearly identical to House of Wolves by Bring Me the Horizon. Intro riff, almost the same. Um, it's cool. Standard generic song, I guess. Breakdown in it is interesting. I feel like we don't get a lot of those from Sum 41, so it's cool to hear. House of Liars, got a 7 on this one. Had a cool lead guitar melody on it. The rest of the song's just pretty all right. You Wanted War kind of picks things back up a little bit. I really like the galloping rhythm that's going on during the song. The bridge leads into a really sick guitar solo, probably my favorite on the album. Chorus could have done a little bit more, kind of wanted a little bit more out of that. So 8 out of 10 there. Then we get to Paint It Black, which I mean, it's painted black. They didn't really do anything interesting with it other than a pretty by the books cover of the Rolling Stones track. It's all right. I mean, it's a 7. It's good. I mean, it's pretty hard to make Paint It Black a bad song. Wish they did more with it. Wouldn't put a cover on your final album ever. It's All Me. This is an 8, but again, he's using the Time Won't Wait lyric here. Probably could have gotten away from that. The guitar solo on this one sounds directly lifted off of the Metallica's Black album. Many of the solos on here sound like that. If you told me Kirk Hammett played half these solos, I'd be like, yeah, that tracks with the amount of wah pedal being used here. But this one in particular sounds directly lifted off that. And then we get to How the End Begins, which I think he said it best himself in that first line of the track, where he says, "Sometimes I wonder if I have enough to say." And I think that if this album lyrically or even creatively is any indication of it, maybe he doesn't. Maybe it's time that Sum 41 ran its course, and maybe they realized that. Um, it's a fitting end to the album. It's about a 7 out of 10 of a song. So I mean, overall, I think Sum 41 ended their career on an okay note. I think it could have been better. I think that I think you would have had an incredible album here if you condensed the two parts into one. Because if I'm going to be honest, they're not that different enough in sound. Like they're not as different as I was expecting the two halves to be, that I think that it really warrants a double album like that. It definitely could have taken the top songs from both sides and made a really good like swan song to end their career on. Do I like the album? Absolutely. I think it's a fine album. Is it what I wanted it to be? No, I wish it was a little bit more. As a whole, we're going 7.5 on it.